Today's lesson is Coldplay, the end of an era. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
Hi, my name is Helen.
And today, as we work toward the end of the month of October, we're going to be talking about music. We're going to be talking about popular music in the form of a rock band by the name of Coldplay. Maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't, but they've been around for quite some time. And we're also talking about the end of an era. My goodness, what does that mean?
Well, Coldplay is a band, a British band that got their start in the 1990s. So they've been around for quite a while, and they have a huge fan base. But I believe they've decided to stop performing or to stop putting out albums as a band. So we can say that they have arrived to the end. So it's the end of an era. Now, an era is a period of time in history that's known for a particular event, for particular qualities. So if we consider Coldplay as being representative of pop music of the 2000s or late 1990s, we could say that with the end of Coldplay, it's also the end of an era.
Right. A period of history is called an era. And so, yes, this band is breaking up, and that means all the things they represented are coming to an end, and somebody else is going to have to take over. But let's find out about Coldplay in today's lesson. Let's listen to the first part right now.
Coldplay, the end of an era. Ranking among the best-selling musical acts in history with roughly 100 million albums sold around the world, Coldplay has been drawing in audiences with their distinctive sound and emotionally charged lyrics for over 2 decades. The group has consistently delivered music that listeners can relate to, and this track record has made the English rock band one of the most successful of all time.
大家好，我们来看标题中的单字 era， 也可以发音为 era， 它是名词，意思是时代、年代或是时期。例如The 19th century was an era of technological development in Europe. 19世纪在欧洲是个科技发展的时代。又或者是 We are now living in the internet era. 我们现在生活在网络时代。接下来，我们介绍形容词 distinctive. 它的意思是独特的或是特别的。例如 This fruit has a distinctive flavor. 这种水果有种独特的风味。又或者说The singer has a distinctive hairstyle, which makes her stand out from the crowd. 这位歌手有着独树一帜的发型，让他在人群中很显眼。另外，补充这个字的相关名词 distinction, D-I-S-T-I-N-C-T-I-O-N, distinction, 意思是区别、差异或是特质。例如 The primary distinction between these products is that ours is more superior in quality. 这些产品之间的主要区别在于我们的品质更优异。又或者说 To be successful, an actor needs to have a distinction unlike any other. 一位演员要想获得成功，就必须拥有与众不同的特质。接下来我们看到名词 lyric， 它的意思是歌词或是抒情诗。例如 I really love the song, but I find it hard to understand the lyrics. 我真的很喜欢这首歌，但我觉得很难理解它的歌词。又或者说 At the concert, the guitars and drums were so loud that we could barely hear the lyrics from the singer. 在演唱会上，吉他声和鼓声大到我们几乎听不到歌手唱的歌词内容。
Ranking among the best-selling musical acts in history with roughly 100 million albums sold around the world, Coldplay has been drawing in audiences with their distinctive sound and emotionally charged lyrics for over 2 decades. So a lot of information is packed in this initial sentence. First of all, we know that Coldplay is a best-selling musical act, and that means that they have sold a lot of albums, they have a lot of fans, and indeed, it's mentioned here that they have sold around 100 million albums around the world, and they have been drawing in audiences. So when you draw in somebody, you attract them. They have been attracting or drawing in audiences with their music.
Right, and we're describing them as a best-selling musical act. Best-selling means they've sold a lot of what they produce. In this case, they sold lots of albums or CDs or downloads from the internet. And of course, they've been doing this for over 2 decades. So again, if you draw in audiences, you attract them. I did want to mention that audience refers to one particular group of people, not the individual members in that group. So you could say the band performed before an audience last night. That would be one group of people or members of the audience if you want to refer to them specifically or individually. And they've been attracting audiences in different places, in different cities around the world because they have this distinctive sound. And if something's distinctive, it's unique, it's special. Nobody else sounds like that.
Right. You can say, for instance, that the artist has a distinctive way of drawing landscapes. So it's just a particular way of doing something. And Coldplay also has or produced emotionally charged lyrics. So lyrics are the words to a song. And these lyrics that Coldplay writes are typically emotionally charged. So when something is charged, it's very energetic. It's very full of emotion. And the phrase emotionally charged, often these two words go together to describe something that's very emotional. So Coldplay has a distinctive sound, which means that when you hear their songs, you know exactly that it's them. And they have very emotionally charged lyrics.
Exactly. The words to their songs, of course, are the lyrics. And they've been doing this for over 20 years. Now, the group has consistently delivered music that listeners can relate to, and this track record has made the English rock band one of the most successful of all time. So again, we're talking about them consistently delivering music that listeners can relate to. So here we've got the phrase to relate to. That means you can understand that thing. You know what they're talking about. Of course, when we're in school, of course, we want to have friends that we can relate to, that we can actually communicate with. And if we don't have friends we can relate to, then we have difficulty finding people to talk about things. And so, of course, we're always looking for a best friend because we can relate to the same things. So, yes, we both like sports, we both like music, etc.
Right. So relate to, in other words, means that you can understand somebody, what they're going through, what they're thinking, because you've had a similar experience. So in this sense, a lot of times parents aren't able to relate to their children because the children are living in a different era, growing up in a different era, and going through different experiences. So the group has consistently delivered music that listeners can relate to. And this track record has made the rock band, or the English rock band, one of the most successful of all time. So because of the fact that they make music that audiences can relate to, and they have consistently done this, and the fact that they have consistently done this means that they have a track record for doing this. When you have a track record for something, it refers to all of the achievements and failures that you have had in the past. So a track record is basically a record of all of the things that you've achieved, all of the things that you have not achieved in your past.
Right. We do use the word track here because it's a reference to track and field when audiences participate in various events like the 100 meters, the 400 meters, etc. So if you've had a lot of success in track and field, well, you have a good track record. And of course, we're talking about success with writers or movie stars or rock stars, and they have a good track record. They've been quite successful. They've sold out concerts all over the world. They've sold lots of albums. You get the idea. And yes, they've been one of the most successful bands of all time. That just means throughout history, of all the bands that we've heard about in the past, they're one of the most successful, along with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and Taylor Swift and all those good people. Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now to the second part. We'll listen first.
Coldplay's journey began in London in 1997, when college classmates Chris Martin, a singer and piano player, and Johnny Buckland, who plays guitar, began writing songs together. They were soon joined by Guy Berryman on bass and Will Champion on drums to round out the band. The four started performing at local venues and gradually gained a devoted following before releasing their debut record Parachutes in 2000.
第二部分我们看到名词 bass， 它的意思是低音吉他，常音译为贝斯或是低音提琴。例如 Basses usually play a big role in pop rock bands. 低音吉他通常在现代摇滚乐队里扮演重要的角色。又或者说 Jerry is a famous bass player in town. Jerry 在城镇上是有名的贝斯手。再来我们看到片语 round out， 它的意思是完成点点点，或是让点点点趋于完整。例如 The singer rounded out her performance today with her most famous song. 这位歌手以他最红的歌曲完成他今日的演出。又或者说 We rounded out the day with a trip to the ice cream shop. 我们移到这间冰淇淋店，为今天画下完美句点。接下来我们介绍名词 parachute， 它的意思是降落伞。例如 The soldiers jumped out of the airplane with parachutes on their backs. 军人们背着降落伞从飞机上跳了下来。又或者说 Parachutes slow us down before we land. 降落伞能让我们在落地之前减缓我们的速度。
Coldplay's journey began in London in 1997 when college classmates Chris Martin, a singer and piano player, and Johnny Buckland, who plays guitar, began writing songs together. So Coldplay actually began in the year 1997 when two classmates got together and decided to form a band. And these two classmates were Chris Martin. So Chris Martin, as we all know, is the singer of Coldplay, and he also plays the piano or the keyboard, and Johnny Buckland, who plays the guitar. So when these two got together, they decided to form a group and to write songs together.
Right, so they were in class together at the university. They probably had a conversation and said, oh, you play piano? Oh, my goodness, I play guitar. Maybe we should get together and create some music. So they started to write songs together. But of course, if you want to have a rock band, you need to have more members. So they were soon joined by Guy Berryman on bass and Will Champion on drums to round out the band. So, of course, the bass guitar is the guitar that has 4 strings. It's bigger than a regular guitar, and it plays all the low notes. So their bass player, or their bassist, is Guy Berryman. And then the drummer, the person who plays the drums, is Will Champion. And with all these people, it rounded out the band. It made the band whole or complete.
Right. So when you round out something, you complete something. The band wasn't complete if it didn't have a drummer or a bassist. So with the addition of these two people, the band was rounded out. Now, the 4 started performing at local venues and gradually gained a devoted following before releasing their debut record, Parachutes, in 2000. So the 4 people in this group began to perform in local venues. Now, a venue is a place where performances are held or where a particular event is held. It's another word for location, basically. And they played at local venues, probably small places that didn't hold a lot of audience members. And then performing again and again in these local venues, they gradually gained a devoted following. A following refers to a group of people who admire something or someone. So you can say that a writer has gained a following, which means that the writer has become popular with a group of people. And following referred to here is described as being devoted. So when you're devoted, you're very loyal and loving to somebody or to something. And devoted fans are fans who are very loyal to a particular artist or musician that they love.
Right, so they started to get gigs at local venues, at local locations, like maybe bars, pubs, or music halls, or whatever. And word spread, hey, there's this new band you got to hear. And more people went to see them and listen to them. So they got a devoted following. And then they were able to release their debut record entitled Parachutes in the year 2000. So your debut is your first work of art. Or you can be introduced to society with your debut. They have those in the American South when girls turn a certain age. They have their debut, their party that introduces them to adulthood. But here we're talking about the first work of art that you release. here as a musician or a group of musicians, and this is their debut record, their first record, which was entitled Parachutes. It came out in the year 2000. A parachute, of course, is a kind of cloth that helps you land on the ground safely after you jump out of an airplane. For example, we could say, the soldiers invaded the enemy territory with parachutes after they jumped out of the plane. You could also use parachute as a verb. The soldiers parachuted out of the plane during the war. Okay, that brings us to the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's listen now to the third part.
Parachutes featured the single Yellow, which became an instant hit and powered the band to international fame. Over the years, Coldplay has made a total of 9 studio albums, with the latest, Music of the Spheres, released in 2021. The band's ability to mix different styles while staying true to their core identity has ensured their lasting appeal.
最后第三部分介绍名词 core， 这个字的意思是核心、精髓或是关键。常置于名词前做修饰，表示核心的或是最重要的，也可以是果核的意思。例如 The core of the problem is that we do not have enough budget for a new manager. 核心问题是我们没有足够预算聘请一位新经理。或是 Exercising core muscles is important for improving overall strength. 锻炼核心肌群对于提高整体力量很重要。
Parachutes featured the single Yellow, which became an instant hit and powered the band to international fame. So, Parachutes, of course, refers to the debut record of Coldplay, which came out in 2000. And the feature song was called Yellow, and this song became an instant hit. In other words, it was instantly successful and popular, and because of this song, this hit, the band was powered to international fame. So to power something means to give it great strength, to give it a lot of impetus, to make it successful, and because of the song, Yellow, the band became instantaneously famous around the world.
Right, this was a big hit internationally, so they became famous. Lots of people heard this song and they liked the band, so they wanted to hear more. And over the years, Coldplay has made a total of 9 studio albums, with the latest, Music of the Spheres, released in 2021. So remember, their first album came out in 2000, and it's now 2023, so my goodness, they've been around for over 2 decades. So during that time, over the years, they have released a total of 9 studio albums. Of course, when a band releases an album, it can be either a studio album or a live album. And in this case, these albums were all produced in the recording studio. And the latest studio album that they've released is entitled Music of the Spheres. A sphere is like a round ball.
Right, it's the shape of a ball, and the title of this album is called Music of the Spheres, released in 2021. Now, the band's ability to mix different styles while staying true to their core identity has ensured their lasting appeal. So, if you're familiar with Coldplay, you'll know that the band has gone through some changes in their style of music. The first album was more rock and pop-oriented, and then their later albums became even more pop-oriented, and they began to mix different styles. However, throughout all of these experiments with different styles, they have remained true to their core identity. So core here refers to the center of something. You could talk about the core of an apple, which is the center of an apple, but also core means the basic and most important part of somebody, like your core beliefs. So your core beliefs are those beliefs that you hold to your heart that never change. You can also talk about your core identity, as we are talking here about Coldplay, which basically means that even though they have changed styles in their music, there's something true about them that never changes, and that is their core identity.
Exactly. So this does happen sometimes when we have a favorite band and then they release a new album and we listen to it and we think, I don't think I like the new music they're producing. They're not like they used to be, okay? It's okay, you know, bands should experiment with new ideas, but, well, they probably shouldn't go too far. They still need to sound like they used to sound. And this is what has happened to them. They have been true to their core identity. They still have the same form there, although they're coming out with new styles and new ideas in their music, which people like. And because of this, it has ensured their lasting appeal. So to ensure here just means to make sure something continues, to guarantee it. And if something's lasting, well, it lasts for a long time. It continues for a long time. And of course, they've been around for over 20 years. So this is evident here that they've been around for a long time. They have had this lasting appeal to lots of audiences. Even young people probably enjoy them, even though these guys are probably well into their 40s by now.
That's right. So basically, Coldplay has been around for a long time, and they have a lot of loyal fans and audience members because even though they have put out different kinds of music with different styles, they do have a core identity which identifies them as Coldplay, and that's what appeals to a lot of fans.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion for today. Let's turn things over now to our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第一部分的最后一句提到 Coldplay 这个乐团始终传递着能够引起听众共鸣的音乐，这让这支英国摇滚乐团成为有史以来最成功的乐团之一。好，文中它是用 one of the most successful of all time 来表达有史以来最成功的乐团之一。那么 of all time 表示从古至今、有史以来或是空前的那种意思。其中的 time 在这边是指时期、时代。Of all time 前面还可以搭配使用最高级修饰词，像是 He is considered one of the greatest architects of all time 他被视为史上最伟大的建筑师之一。好，那补充一个相关的形容词是 all time all 跟 time 这边中间是有连字号的，那这可以形容是史上的、空前的或是创纪录的。所以如果我们说 one of the all-time greats in basketball history 就可以表达篮球史上最伟大的人物之一。那我们这边用到 one of the all-time greats 这个 great 是当名词去表达名人啊、大人物或是伟人的意思。好，课文第二部分介绍了 Coldplay 的4名成员。那在2000年发行他们首张专辑《降落伞》之前，这4个人就已经开始在当地场所演出，逐渐获得一批忠实的追随者。那文中用到 venue 这个名词，它可以指事件、活动等等的场所啊，或是举办地点。那其实这个单字当做字根的时候，它其实就有 come 到来的意思，我们就来补充这个字根。好 venue V-E-N-U-E 和 vent V-E-N-T 这一类字根呢，表示 come 就是来、到来或是出现，像 event 活动事件或是 invent发明等等，他们都会跟这种到来出现有关嘛。好，那我们就来看看几个带有这一类字根的单字。第一个是 advent A-D-V-E-N-T 它的字首 A-D 表示朝向，那么字根 vent 表示到来，那从字面意思来看就是指 come to， 那么 advent 它就有问世啊、出现的意思。第二个补充的是 prevent 它的字首 P-R-E 表示事先，在什么什么之前，那么字根 vent 表示出现，在某事物出现之前，我们就先干预阻止它发生。那用这样的方式也许可以联想到 prevent 它有阻止、防止、制止的意思。第三个补充的是 revenue 它的字首 R-E 表示 back 往回，那么 V-E-N-U-E 这部分表示 come 到来，从字面上来看啊，它表示 come back 回来，我们就可以用收回来的钱、收入去联想到 revenue 它可以表达收益，像公司收益啊，或者是政府税收等等的意思。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Era.The Industrial Revolution was an era marked by significant advances in technology. Distinctive. Carol's distinctive sense of style makes her stand out in a crowd. Venue. Armando's band will be playing at a cool new venue downtown. Debut. After years of training, the young actress will make her theater debut this weekend. Parachute. As her parachute opened above her, Claudia's fear was replaced with relief. Sphere. We all live on Earth, a rocky sphere that floats through the darkness of space. Core. A deep passion for performing is the core of Daryl's success as a musician.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Helen.
I am Roger.
See you next time.